Hello, everybody. We'll get started in just a few moments. While we wait, I have an agenda you can look at and scribble on if you desire.
Hey, Crow. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. I had to go with the beat, whatever song it was.
It was the Sonic the Hedgehog theme song.
It has to be Super Mario. That movie comes out on Friday.
Meh. It is a thing that will happen, yes. Put a link to the agenda in our chatty chat. If you have any items you'd like to add, please do. Just give it one more minute. We'll get rolling. While we're waiting, do we have any volunteers to help us take notes today?
Sure.
Oh, thank you very much, Nicole. Appreciate that. Well, welcome to the April 5th edition of the Vulnerability Disclosure Working Group. Very glad to see everybody. Please mark your attendance in the agenda. And if you have any opens you'd like to add, please add them in. We'll start off as is tradition. Do we have any new friends or new faces that wanted to introduce themselves to the group and say hello to everybody?
Hello. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Josh Bucher. I work with Cloud Security Alliance. I know I've met a couple of you before, and I help out with the global security database. And yeah, just kind of being a fly on the wall for today. So
Awesome. Well, tell Kurt we said hey.
will do.
All right. Any other new friends that wanted to say hello? All right, Roger Dodger. I wanted to just briefly highlight for everybody the Open Source Summit North America is coming up here in May. And we had a fairly substantial representation from this working group and other kind of affiliated working groups and SIGs. So if you are going to Vancouver, I strongly encourage you to pop back into any of these sessions and say hello to your brothers and sisters that are fighting the good fight and talking and helping educate the community. Quite a lot of us very excited to see that such a good participation. Speaking of the Open Source Summit, there is a European edition coming up. The call for papers is open until May. It's going to be held in Spain this year. So if anyone is interested in submitting papers, if you would like assistance from the group, we did last time around, we kind of did some abstract feedback. If anyone would like any assistance there, if you're looking for co-presenters, feel free to submit to the European version of the summit. If you had a talk accepted at Vancouver, don't be shy and resubmit that for Europe. I was told that there's about a 60% new amount of folks. So you'll have about 40% of the people that were in Vancouver go, but then the majority of folks are from Europe and other parts of the world. So feel free to resubmit your stuff. Any questions about either of the summits? And there will be a Asia summit towards the very end of the year. I don't have any details about that yet. Last year that was in Tokyo, which I hope it's there again, because if so, I'm going to fight and go, and then I'm going to go to the Godzilla Museum.
That sounds fun.
Right. I want to zip line into Godzilla's mouth. All right. We have a couple updates on our sub projects for the CERT SIG that is still under review by the governing board. I have seen a very nice presentation that LF staff put together, kind of summarizing the plan, making it more executive-y. And we are a topic on the docket for the GB meeting tomorrow. So hopefully we will either start to get some feedback on the SIG plan, or potentially people that are interested in funding it, or we'll get some feedback that it's a terrible idea. We'll see. I don't know. That should be coming up. Ideally, we'll hear something in the next couple of weeks. For the AutoFix SIG, did Jonathan pop on? He has not yet. I'm sure he'll be here soon. He talked about the vulnerability disclosure policy that the Alpha and Omega project has proposed, that many of us here have provided feedback on. The TAC yesterday, we didn't have quorum. It was also a lame duck session because we had a new TAC elected. And then there will be a couple more folks appointed by the governing board later this week. So he'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about that again. And ideally, we'll get the tax agreement or their feedback on what they think about that policy. And then they will potentially start to use that for Alpha and Omega. Any questions about the AutoFix, or any feedback from folks that are participating in the AutoFix?
I shared the link to it in the chat, so if anybody wants to read it and review it.
Awesome. Thank you. Scrolling down the list, we voted to adopt OpenVex as part of this working group. It is now a SIG underneath this working group. We had our first call Monday, pretty good participation. So we're just kind of strategizing on how we want to get the industry to start using more VEX, how we can work with other communities like scanners and whatnot. So, and big topic conversation was a logo. So that the team is busily herding out, getting bar napkins and pencils and scribbling down ideas that we will eventually have a logo for the SIG eventually. Everyone is welcome to come participate, and you'll hear more information about that as we move forward. And then the last project I want to give updates on is OSV. As you can see in our notes, we are now holding a monthly call that is friendly towards APAC hours. Everyone here that's part of the traditional SIG is welcome to come and participate. So far, it's predominantly been the OSV crew. They're located in Australia. And the three of us had a nice chat talking about the project. So when that video is up and running, if you're curious to kind of hear a status from Oliver and Andrew, you can see the video. And kind of their big thing is their goals for the upcoming future are how they can get wider adoption of OSV, and then how to get better integrated into this working group. So any thoughts and ideas we have around that, please feel free to reach out, pop into the next OSV call, or start talking on Slack. The whole OSV team is on our Slack and is really interested to kind of talk with us. Look at that, David Wheeler.
Hey there. Yeah, so my apologies. I had another meeting that ran late. Are you about to end your meeting from the here? What I'm hearing so far?
No, I'm just giving the sub project updates.
Okay.
Yeah, so the OSV crew is again looking for to get better collaboration with this group. And anyone that's interested in helping out, let us know. All right.
Hey, Crow.
Sir,
Sorry, I missed it. Where can I find that information?
the OSV team,
Yeah.
we have links to them in our Git repo, and I'll post a link. There's a link at the repo at the very top of this agenda.
Perfect.
And they have their own Slack channel as well, which I will get posted. Let me see here. What is the name of their Slack channel? OSV Schema is their Slack channel. Good crew. They've been affiliated with this group for a while, and it's just because of the time zone, it's just challenging. So anyone that's interested in having a 6 p.m. Eastern call, that's when that call is. Much better for California, terrible for Europe. Sorry. We'll do our best, but yes, and I'll get you the, oh, that didn't paste well at all. I will, I'll point you to their Slack channel here once I'm done chatting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The only item I had to talk about is Luigi had posted an idea about creating a security MD file for use throughout the foundation. So let's talk about that. And if anyone has any opens, please add them right below. But if you want to crack open the Google Doc, and then he has issue 128 in our repo, let's talk about the idea of having a consistent security MD file for all OpenSSF projects. Table go. Do we think it's a good idea?
Yes.
I think it's a good idea. I would, my immediate comment is please title it a vulnerability disclosure or reporting or something like that, because it's obviously not covering everything related to security.
Agreed. I think we can definitely borrow from, I think we have a template within the CVD guide for open source maintainers. We might be able to embiggen his document with material from that as well.
Yeah, I just talked to somebody else who has a security policy where they include, here's how to write secure code, here's how we're going to run our build environments, and harden them, and that's presumably not what we're going to cover. So I just want to make sure the title and the contents match.
Certainly.
Hey, also, hi, Krob.
Hey, Art. Long time no chat.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I don't think that's true, but maybe.
About 24 hours.
I'm on my phone. I don't have a good keyboard. Let me see here. There are one or two other disclosure policy sort of threads going on. I think one is for inbound to the OpenSSF, or no, sorry, I lied. One is outbound. If the OpenSSF finds something,
yes,
I try to make, obviously, I guess, but we should join the threads as appropriate, or not if there's in an outbound. But I thought I had already heard about an inbound policy under development somewhere. So just a comment. Obviously, we should merge those in some way.
That's the one that Luigi's been working on. I mentioned that during the No, I mentioned that during the call. Just this is the one.
Got it. Never mind. Forget that comment then. Got it. Thank you. Yep.
Luigi's would be the inbound for any OpenSSF project, or anyone that thinks it's a great model they want to adopt for their
and wants
project.
to adopt it. Yep.
Yeah, and that's a little different than Jonathan's autofix SIG, which kind of will describe the behaviors of how alpha and omega and any kind of associated research would behave.
Understood. I thought for a moment there might have been two inbound policy threads. I guess there are not, so never mind.
Yeah, and to Josh's question in the chat, I don't know if OSV has regular meeting times. I need to ask them, and I will get that information added in.
And I actually have a clarification question for David. When you say make sure the title matches the content, I hope you're talking about the title in the file, because I know by default most security vulnerability reporters look for a security.md.
Right. No, no,
not that-
security MD is fine. No,
You're
it's
just looking for a
under the
title
document.
within the document.
Right. Title of this specific document. No, security MD is the standard. No, I'm not saying change that.
Okay, just wanted to clarify because it was.
Yeah. No, the Google Doc, change the Google Doc title because it said, I don't remember what it said. It said something else.
It's OpenSSF vulnerability reporting policy.
Right. That's what instead of open source security foundation security policy, because that's all.
Other feedback around Luigi's proposal? I would encourage everybody to take a look at this document and then give any feedback. I'd like to potentially try to get this buttoned up maybe by our next call. And then we can take that to the TAC and ask them to make that part of the working group and project collateral when they clone repos and whatnot, so that we all have this kind of common process across the foundation. And then it can be tailored if a working group or project wanted something different, they could do that. But we at least have that common template that everybody starts from. Any additional feedback or questions on that? All right, do we have any additional topics that the group is interested in discussing? Anything we want to collaborate on together today?
I have two proposed topics that I would like to raise. However, this is, this is a last minute beg for the group from me. So, you don't feel like you're obligated, but if I can talk the group into at least talking about these briefly, I would be grateful.
We certainly can talk about it.
Okay, so two items, and I tried to slip them in, hopefully in the right place in this. Number one is GitHub private reporting. This is pull request number 47 on the open source software vulnerability guide. So basically GitHub, to the relief of many of us who have been begging for many years, and I do want to, I say that, but I don't want to, I'm not trying to besmirch our GitHub friends. So thank you, actually, GitHub. So basically, GitHub has, for various reasons, been very concerned about adding the ability to do private reporting of vulnerabilities on GitHub projects. However, I think it's very important, and they have finally, announced that. Formally, it's in beta, but I think zero people expect it to go away. And and so basically it means that for a lot of works, it suddenly is much easier to accept vulnerability reports than it has been before. Although I'm pretty sure that GitLab already has this capability. Obviously, many other organizations have this ability. So this particular pull request adds, hey, we encourage you to use, if you're on GitHub, we encourage you to enable this facility and use it. It's important to me that this get added soon because there are other things cooking in the works, but we plan to refer to this guide, but this needs to be part of the guide for that to make any sense. Is everyone okay with adding this? I mean, it's not a mandate thou shalt, but it's a recommendation too, and I think that's reasonable.
So you can either give us a thumbs up or a green check mark. If anyone has any dissenting opinions or counter proposal, let's hear that now, please. Getting some green check marks. Any counter proposal or alternate opinions? All right, I think we're good to push the magic button, Mr. Wheeler.
All righty, you want to push that button, or I mean?
I am right there, so I would be glad to.
Awesome. Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
I'll do my best to click the button.
Yeah, I don't want every single pull request to try to have, oh, we have to go through a meeting, but this one I think is to me it wasn't controversial, but maybe it was, and it was important that this be in for other things that we're trying to cook up.
Apparently, I don't have write access to my own repo.
Oh, what have you done, Crobe?
I guess I've been naughty. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. We'll need to get that fixed. So
yeah, we'll get that fixed.
Yeah, we'll get that fixed. I have no idea how in the world that would have happened. Okay, so sorry about that. All right. Yeah. So we'll get that fixed later. All right. So if I may indulge, I have one more request from the group. I'm revealing a little bit, but hey, what the heck? We're all friends here, right? There we go. So I and a couple other people are okay. First of all, let me make it clear: this is not a done deal. But I have been pitching that there be an LF-wide policy that every LF foundation and every LF project be able to accept vulnerability reports and have some plan for dealing with them. To me, that's not controversial. That said, LF, historically at least, has been rather reticent to put too many requirements on all foundations and projects because, the little tiny project where there's no funding and where there's one, maybe two people is really different than, say, Kubernetes or Linux kernel. And just there's such a variety of projects that there's a reticence to try to impose too much generally. But I think this is a case where it just seems like there's something we can say. So I have shared with you kind of draft text that I intend to include as part of a general telling people, hey, if you find a vulnerability in projects, here's what you do. And then, oh, by the way, this is what we would like to tell LF projects and foundations. Much of this is cribbed from the work of this group, and we briefly cite some other things that the OpenSSF has done. I would love to know, since this is primarily about vulnerability disclosure, I'd love to know, do you think this kind of thing would make sense for everybody?
What does the group think?
So I have seen policies like this. I was actually just this morning working with the Erlang Foundation on creating their first vulnerability disclosure policy for like their whole ecosystem, of which they're using our maintainer guide for, just so we all know. They love it.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're doing it in such a way that kind of like a last resort, if you can't reach any maintainers, like we will handle this, and that's the way they're scoping their policy. So I have seen this with other ecosystems, foundations, and it seems to be helpful.
Although it's not in the text that I shared, because the paragraph I copied in is part of a larger doc. The current intention is that we're going to have a security, well, we actually already have security at linuxfoundation.org as basically the backstop for everything in the LF. We're telling people, don't use that unless you can't find anything else, because we don't want Linux kernel reports to go there. We don't want OpenNet, we want go to the specific project, okay? But if you can't find any other way to report there, and then we'll go figure it out. And that's not in this paragraph, but that is in the larger doc this is intended to be from.
Hey, David, can I summarize what you said and let me know if I'm correct?
Okay, I'll try. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So the LF as a backstop, last resort.
Yes.
If I've got a security issue and I'm looking where to report it, if I find, obviously a program, a project, a foundation, a large distributor that will handle it, great, go there. If there's nothing else, security at Linux Foundation could catch such reports And the scope would be something that is sort of in the LF umbrella in some way, or is it sort of any open source whatsoever?
No, just LF.
Okay, okay, LF. Sorry, an LF member, a project that is sort of officially part of under LF.
If it's an LF project or an LF foundation, we can't possibly be the backstop for all open source software. I mean,
no. Yeah.
If for no other reason than not only just burden, but I would have no idea how to contact somebody. Whereas if they're within the LF, we at least have a clue about how to contact the person. Worst, I contact HR. Who the heck?
Got it. Yeah. Sorry, understood. I wanted to sort of check on that. I don't know if it's quite accurate to say that the OpenSSF cert was sort of considering this idea. I have been considering it in a couple of organizations I'm part of, to look at sort of a report, a capability of really last resort, sort of for the internet, much less for open source. So just curious, I want to make sure that if something like that moves forward, it is not tripping over other people who are already doing it. So I'm good. Thank you. LF makes sense. That's a very appropriate scope, I think, for this piece of work. Anyway, I'm a proponent of that being all the backstops that we can find in appropriate places. So yeah, I agree. Thank you.
As Art alluded to it, if it is ever funded and endorsed, that is a function that the OSS cert sig potentially could take on, is to help be the destination for that mailbox potentially.
Yeah. Now for the security at Linux Foundation, the expectation is we would immediately route it to whoever in the LF is involved. To be honest, the primary one or thing that we're expecting that to be used for is for LF infrastructure. Like you find a vulnerability on the linuxfoundation.org website. Right. The linuxfoundation.org isn't actually a project. It's an organizational site, and so there isn't a project to report to. So what the heck do you do? Well, here you go. We've actually had 2 reports involving some subtle weirdnesses involving DNS. Again, who the heck do you report it to? Here's a place. We can chat about weirdnesses, and my thanks to Henobak who found some crazy stuff through some special tools he wrote. So it's all good. So we just want to make sure there's a way to report. And you know what? If this broader open source software thing gets a report, and they find out it's a Linux Foundation project, but they can't figure out how to report it to there, we would tell them, well, here's the generic Linux Foundation report. You tell it to us, and we'll track it down.
Any other feedback or comments for David on this idea? I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Yep. Right now, my expectation is that I haven't really tried to push this up the flagpole yet. Is I can't imagine anyone complaining about the idea. It's more a cultural thing. This is we don't enforce lots of. Yeah, I got that, but these are we still need to do it anyway. So, and I think that's actually often a problem with some of these security things. Is sometimes you're dealing with a cultural distinction here.
Hey, it doesn't sound like you're expecting a whole lot of effort or traffic or work. You talked about sort of routing things, hopefully to a better place.
Right.
Still, someone has to run the mailbox and keep an eye on it. So,
no, in fact, not just someone, because if they go on vacation, then it's no one.
So is that part of the? Yeah, no, absolutely. Is that part of the?
That's not going to be part of the public announcement, but that obviously is going to have to be part of that discussion. Sure. To be fair, right now we already have security at linuxfoundation.org. It's not well advertised, but the thing already exists. So we are internally going to have to make sure that we've got that My current plan is to try to get the IT folks to do all the hard work. But if I can't manage to slough off all the work, then I and some other folks may actually have to do some more work. But you know, you try to make sure you get everybody else to do all the hard work where possible.
Fine strategy.
But if I can't dodge it, this is important enough. I'm even willing to do some work. So.
Or any other feedback or comments for David? Does anyone think it's a bad idea?
Thank you, everybody.
All right, so it sounds like, again, the group, at least lazy consensus is we think it's a good idea. Let us know what we can do to help out.
I mean, the only catch, as pointed out, was who more than one person is going to monitor it. So as long as that gets sorted, sounds reasonable.
All right. Again, any additional topics we'd like to talk about today or collaborate on?
I can provide an update on the vulnerability disclosure incoming report document that has been submitted to the TAC. The TAC is aware of it. It was discussed during their meeting. They are providing feedback on it, and LF Legal is currently looking at the document. And so we should hopefully have feedback from them within the next bit of time. I do not think that they have actually, let's see, they have not taken a look at the document as far as I can tell yet. So yes. What else? The AutoFix working group is still meeting. GitHub announced last week the addition of an API for maintainers to read from GitHub security advisories that have been published, or sorry, that are being worked on. These are the repository ones, so these are the private reports. Coming down the pipeline, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, is an API to allow security researchers to open private vulnerability reports via an API instead of having to do so via button clicky things on GitHub. So we should hopefully have some updates on that 2 weeks from now, and we will have more features in that department. So I am in communication with Kate and other people about that feature. And also I have a pull request up against Pi GitHub to add the API bindings for security advisories to that API. So if you want to interact with GitHub, if you want to interact with the new security advisories API via the Python, you can do that in a more easy way now. So, yep. Yeah, that one. Thank you.
Very nice. Any other topics to discuss today, team? All right, with that, then we will adjourn for the day. Thank you all for your time and attention and participation. As you have feedback on any of the items we've talked, I've tried to, wherever possible, link to the issue in the agenda. And we have a Slack and email list if anyone's interested in engaging with the group. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.